Hello guys, today is December 15th and today I'm going to talk about the schism which the Republican Party is having right now. I always have had the idea that post-Trump, the GOP would be in lots of problems in what I call an own party civil war. Due to Trump just breaking apart the Republican Party out of spite, since they quote-unquote did not help him win, with many in Trump's fan base stating that if Republicans don't help Trump, they will destroy the GOP and destroy it to the ground. And the more Trump sinks the ship, his ship, and the Republican ship, they will treat, especially high-ranking Republicans, will treat Trump's presidency as a fever dream. And they will turn, most of them, not all of them though, but a decent amount of them will turn their backs against Trump like it was nothing, especially if he has bad legal problems in the future. I finally decided to make this video after I read this tweet from a former GOP congressman, Joe Walsh. And this really got me thinking, since I've always said and believed that conservatives, especially high-ranking ones that want a shot at the presidency and winning, would become more moderate and less aligned with Trump. But I didn't think it would come in this way, which it is shaping up to be, and I do fully expect this to happen. And as you can see, he wrote about how, it's kind of splitting up the GOP. Trump party is bigger, consists of 2/3 of the GOP, while old school conservatives are 1/3. And the problem is that whether you are on the left or on the right, you can't deny that the GOP is having a schism right now between moderates and Trumpists at the moment. Even, in this election, there was a lot of moderate Republicans who voted for McCain in 2008 that voted for Biden, which ultimately was the final blow against Trump. And who would I personally expect to create a new party that splits off from the GOP? Well, at the moment, we don't know who will jump the ship. Will it be the moderates, like Mitt Romney, Nikki Haley, or will it be the Trumpists, the one that align themselves with Trump? Or will it be both? And heck, everyone might jump ship, really. And the problem is there is no way for the GOP to avoid this problem, since if they don't, they will not be successful in the future, and it's going to be the best for the long term for conservatism and the party's success in the future. And another problem is that the GOP, or whoever the next party is, will have big problems getting new voters, especially with the growing population of minorities becoming higher than the white population. This is why, whether or not they want to, conservatives will need to form a big tent centrist party, since it's really the only way they can win 20, 40 years from now. Because just look at this map right here that I found. You can see there's a lot of minorities in the Sun Belt, especially in this region. Here, 30 years, 20 years from now, it's going to become more and more and more minorities, especially in the southern half. And due to the population of whites decreasing while minorities are rapidly increasing, as seen in this map, so let's say they split off. What would this mean? Well, there would be a really awkward transition until a new party rises up that will gather all, which will likely be a moderate conservative party, since that will be the most successful with voters. And who will lead this party? Will it be someone like Mitt Romney? But overall, conservatives are in a really bad spot, and they need to get more voters, more of those centrist voters, more minority turnout for them, more of those McCain and Romney voters who did not vote in this election or even voted for Biden in 2020. This should be the core base for the GOP if they want to be successful. And this problem is that in the Senate, there are more conservatives that would rather align with the middle and independents in the future, due to them wanting to run for president someday, 8 years from now. But in the House, it's a bit in the opposite, as seen by the 106 House Republicans backing the Texas challenge and basically overriding the 2020 election. And 106 Republicans is the majority of the Republican House. And especially if the Republican Party splits off, and which it's happening right now, then this will make the midterms really interesting, especially in the House. And Democrats better hope there's a schism, and a big one. Because if not, Democrats are almost 100% gonna lose the House with an incumbent Joe Biden during midterms. And midterms almost never are good for a party unless there's a special occasion, like this one will likely happen soon. So, all of this would be the best case scenario for the Democrats. And this potentially would mean that the GOP would split apart, which would be utter chaos for conservatives. And this would mean that the Democrats would have, in the short term, they would have easier elections. And I wouldn't be surprised if in 2024 it's a three-way presidential race, which electorally would be really confusing and a mess, and would be really worse for the polls, and would be plain confusing for most folk out there that doesn't follow politics as much. And there's also the chance that progressives could potentially split off from the Democratic Party, since they would have more leverage against moderate Democrats, since they could just say, hey, if you don't do this for us, then we will create our own party. Any presidential race with more than 2 candidates, or even potentially 3 to 4, is just confusing. And there has been previous elections in which there's been more than 2 or 3. The last time there was 4 was actually in 1912. And the best case scenario for the GOP, to be honest, is to create a new party. In all honesty, it's just they could try to reform, but it wouldn't be the best option, since there are many former GOP who are now in the never Republican movement, and Trumpism would always bother them with adding more voters who are independent. And without independent voters, you can't win. They will have to do this in order to keep Texas, to keep Arizona, to keep states like Georgia. Because if not, then these states will, and especially in the Sun Belt, will flip to the Democrats. This would be the nightmare for conservatives, to lose Texas. And another example of the schism that's currently happening is, for example, in the Georgia Senate races, there are many Trumpists that are saying we ain't gonna vote on January 5th on another machine made by China. You're not gonna fool Georgians again. And they're just basically saying, hey, I'm not gonna vote. This election was rigged against Trump. What's the point of voting? That's what they are thinking at the moment. And it's not only, this couple of people. This is a sentiment felt by a lot of Trumpists, especially the ones that are really into Trump and his ideology, which will sink what's left of the Republican Party, especially if this gives Democrats just that narrow edge in these 2 Senate races, and could potentially give Democrats the majority in the Senate. And in the future, these are the people that will want to either form a party or to get rid of moderate Republicans and put them in another one. And this will impact the 2024 election by quite a lot. There's going to be people, maybe thousands, maybe even 100,000 people that if Trump is not on the ticket, they will write in his name. And this reminds me of one of my favorite quotes by Abraham Lincoln, which explains this quite a lot. A house divided against itself cannot stand. And if conservatives have a broken house and have 2 parties to vote for that are conservative, until all conservative voters vote for only one dominant party, they will not be able to win the presidency. And this transition, which looks like it will happen, could maybe even take a decade until there's one strong, either centrist or Republican Party. Meaning potentially for the rest of this decade, there might only be Democratic presidents. which would really suck for the GOP since they have some really good candidates in the future like Nikki Haley. Heck, maybe even Mitt Romney, who has been a bit suspicious. He has done many things that have lined up quite interestingly for him to potentially maybe run in 2024. From his impeachment vote to just so many things against Trump. I don't know. Many people don't think this will happen, but it's just my gut feeling for some reason. As things I predicted are slowly becoming true, and if all of these things do happen, mark my words, Mitt Romney will use the video of him voting to impeach Trump as an ad. And Republicans in this scenario will only be able to win presidency if both parties have a schism. Because if one party has a schism, they cannot win unless the other one has the same. Which I don't think will occur for the Democratic Party, not yet. But Democrats will have to appease more to progressives, way more in this scenario, since they will have more leverage. And at the end of the day, the GOP will do what's best to win and be successful. And that is to represent the people, to be more open-minded in politics, to succeed and have a better future. But what I hope for the nation is that this political chaos doesn't run even more into the streets, and our lives will not have to deal with riots and chaos. But sadly, I think this will likely happen. Okay, thank you guys for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe, and see you next time. Bye.